Kazakhstan has chosen the multi-vector integration. Its trends, collisions, and prospects are coming up in the Single Market Program.
Здравствуйте, с вами Павел.
Hello, my name is Pavel Koktashev. You're watching Single Market. One of the trends of the contemporary world is globalization. Today, this phenomenon affects many spheres of our life. Kazakhstan, as a country with an open economy, has gotten on board a long time ago. However, at the backdrop of the challenges that were caused in the recent times by internal and external factors, the topic of globalization has become especially relevant. Our correspondent brings us an overview of what world experts think regarding the situation.
В специальном обзоре, подготовленном нашим корреспондентом.
The recent turbulent state in which the world finds itself forces countries to look for new approaches to the solution of problems connected with a chronic slowdown of production rates, reduced investment activity, and instability of commodity markets, first and foremost, the oil market.
The global implication of lower oil prices is fundamentally negative, and this is a new thing because traditionally, a lowering of oil prices was creating an expansionary supply shock and had positive effects on the global economy. Now, it's not, we could say, a shot in the arm for the global economy. We see that the non-linear reaction of oil exporting countries has had a higher effect on the global economy.
For export-oriented countries with a developing economy, which includes Kazakhstan, there is a paradoxical situation at hand. On the one side, thanks to oil and other raw materials, these countries, almost right after the gaining of independence, entered the global market and quite quickly were able to achieve a growth of the national economy. On the other side, the shine of black gold in the recent times is not as bright, and today oil cannot serve as a key driver of development as before.
The main challenge for the world is how can we build a sustainable, and fair global growth around the world. And I think we need to move away from what we have been witnessing over the last 2 decades. We have been dependent on, the Eurasian year on commodities. So we need to find a way to bring back, growth, more balanced growth, more sustainable. So it's not only a challenge for Kazakhstan, but for the global economy.
According to reputable experts within this context, Kazakhstan needs to focus on two main approaches: to rely on a resource that guarantees this type of growth, and at the same time, considering the country's geographic location, remain on the global playing field.
Kazakhstan has very many neighbours around it, and quite big and powerful neighbours around it. But for all of them, Kazakhstan is a central point. Something that happens in one place has an impact somewhere else. And that makes Kazakhstan extremely important for the future. It means that Kazakhstan also has particular difficulties in having its own muscles and stretching its own arms, because you have people around you who are keen to communicate and share and exchange, and sometimes their attention feels too much, and sometimes it feels too little.
That is why, regardless of all the collisions, the country will always remain a player in the global market, the center of which is gradually shifting towards the Asian continent. The previous core, which we connected with the US cycle of accumulation and which has resulted in today's model of liberal globalization with all its contradictions, is reducing in volume. At the same time, the core of the Asian capital accumulation cycle is expanding fast. And the more prominent the Asian focus is in the architecture of the global center, the more important Kazakhstan's role as a transit space becomes.
Infrastructure needs in Central Asia, we estimate to be in the region of around $21 billion, and Kazakhstan is certainly amongst the key players in that area. According to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, trade volume amongst nations in the Eurasian continent will reach $1.2 trillion by 2020.
In order to find its place under the sun in the global market and raise its transit potential, Kazakhstan has already realized and continues to realize a number of large infrastructural projects. Kazakhstan's logistics terminal in China's Lianyungang port. Altenkol Station, a railroad crossing on the Kazakhstan-China border. The Special Economic Zone Eastern Gates, a complex comprised of 3 infrastructural objects, a dry port, and industrial and logistics zones. The railway station in the west of the country, connecting Kazakhstan with Turkmenistan, and the potential for cargo transit to Iran. The ferry complex in the Kuruk port for container shipments. And finally, the transnational highway, Western Europe, Western China. These infrastructural projects are the main components of the Eurasian multimodal corridor, which is today being established with Kazakhstan's participation.
These investments are very important for cargo to move. Logistics need intermodal. So you have a port, which is Aktau, you have rail, you have air, and you have land. And all of these 4 intermodal ways of carrying cargo are available today in Kazakhstan, and I think this is very important.
Another resource for stable growth, aside from transit, could be human capital. According to analysts, considering the realities of the global market, it can give a good boost to Kazakhstan's economy.
Let me give you an example. In 1992, there was an expo in Seville, in Spain. And the government of Spain decided to use the expo to promote Seville. They created the infrastructures, the trains, the high-speed trains going to Seville from Madrid, the buildings. There was one little problem. They forgot that for firms to flourish, in addition to all of these things, you need people. You need human capital.
All these opinions and proposals put forward by reputable experts highlight the relevance of the guiding points chosen for Kazakhstan's economy by the country's president. By the way, whenever there is an opportunity, the president raises this issue not just within the country, but also on a global level.
Само понятие глобализации сейчас.
The very concept of globalization at the moment is being rethought. Is it the mainstream development path of humanity and the economy? Or is there another one which was in place before? I believe that we need to choose the path of inclusive globalization.
Необходимо выбрать путь инклюзивной глобализации. Никакая страна не может.
No country can develop if it does not have educated, healthy, entrepreneurial people. The economy of science and innovation tells us that first we have to prepare the innovators who will understand and lead this undertaking.
Говорит о том, что сначала мы должны подготовить инноваторов, которые будут понимать и вести это дело.
An undertaking which is the most optimal for the key resource of economic growth. The resource of innovations, unlike oil, is always in demand and has the potential of being a renewable resource. This is the context within which we must consider the main principles of the new presidential address, which calls for a need to transition to the standards of a digital economy. All-round digitalization of the economy will lead to the disappearance of entire sectors and creation of cardinally new ones. Great changes that are happening before our eyes. This is at the same time a historical challenge and a chance for our nation. If the developing countries would realize this transition, not individually but collectively, relying on the help of the Fund for Human Development, which the President of Kazakhstan proposed to create under the auspices of the UN, then the world would be able to get out of the crisis and enter a new level of development. However, today we have a paradoxical situation. Developed countries, which laid the founding principles of globalization, are expressing less optimism regarding this process.
In my continent where I'm based in Europe, we fear, I think, tomorrow. We are worried about what the future might bring and that our children and our grandchildren will have a worse quality of life than we have had. And I think in places in Asia, in Kazakhstan as well, there's real hope for the future. There's a real hope that tomorrow's society will be better than today's, will be wealthier, will be more confident, will be more happy, I think, than the present. And that is a source of optimism. Talking about the end of hyperglobalization and that there's an end of a chapter, for me, in Central Asia, this feels like it's a beginning. This feels like it's a start of something new here in Central Asia.
Perhaps this really is the case, that at the intersection of the past and present, today a global future is being born, of which the 9th largest country in the world, the Republic of Kazakhstan, is part. There's a great number of forecasts regarding the growth rates of the world economy this year. As a rule, they're made by experts which work for the leading world publications, international analytical agencies, and financial institutions. The most reputable of them is considered to be the forecast of the World Bank. Alexander Galeev continues the story.
Тему продолжит Александр Галеев.
По прогнозу Всемирного банка, 2017 в плане...
According to the 2017 forecast of the World Bank, in terms of the world economy development in comparison with last year, it will be more active. However, there is a clarification. There are still risks. They can include the rising uncertainty regarding the economic policy of leading countries, first and foremost the United States, where the shift in priorities may lead to unforeseen consequences. The second risk factor is connected with the ever greater fall in the inflow of direct foreign investments, especially to countries with emerging markets and developing economies. And finally, the third factor, sudden changes on the commodity markets.
И, наконец, третий фактор – внезапные изменения на рынке биржевых товаров. Это все о рисках. А теперь о прогнозных показателях. Ожидается повышение темпа.
That's all about the risks. And now about forecast data. A rise in the growth rates of the world economy is expected to reach a level of 2.7%. It is clear that this concerns the general picture. For every group of countries, the World Bank is predicting different growth rates. For countries with a developed economy, the forecasted growth rate is 1.8%. In countries with an emerging market and developing economy, the expected growth rate is from 2.2 to 4.2%. There, the growth rates vary depending on the export-import level of raw materials to external markets.
От экспорта-импорта биржевых товаров. Например, Казахстан...
For example, Kazakhstan is a supplier of raw materials to foreign markets. For this country, the forecasted growth rate is 2.2% under the condition that the prices for this group of commodity goods stabilize and economic imbalances are reduced.
Экономических дисбалансов. А вот прогноз Всемирного банка...
And this is the forecast of the World Bank for other oil exporting countries. In Saudi Arabia, an insubstantial rise in the growth rate is expected, up to 1.6%.
Исламская республика Иран...
The Islamic Republic of Iran, through the further increase in the oil extraction volumes and expansion of foreign markets, is capable of reaching a growth rate of 5.2%.
Темпы роста в России, как ожидается, составит...
The economic growth rate in Russia is expected to reach 1.5% due to the completion of the period of adaptation to the lower oil prices. And finally, China, whose economic performance is a key indicator of the world economy. Experts are forecasting that this country will continue exhibiting a slowdown in its growth rate to 6.5%. But this trend can be considered within the context of the current rebooting of China's economy.
И вместо резюме.
And instead of a summary, the world is tired of crises and bad news. That is why the forecast of the World Bank, made at the beginning of this year, can be considered as a breath of fresh air. This is precisely what we're missing today. And concerning the question of whether it will come true or not, we're not going to speculate. Time will show. My name is Alexander Galeev. Until next time on Single Market.
До встречи в программе «Рынок без границ».
Among the anticipated events of this year, in the economies of the Eurasian integration countries, there is the start of the single pharmaceutical market. On the one hand, this is a new level of development of a sector, which is on the list of the top most influential sectors of the economy. On the other hand, the functioning of the pharmaceutical industry in the format of a single market will strengthen the competition among the sector's enterprises within the common economic space, dubbed as the Eurasian Economic Union. Competitiveness is usually determined by such factors like stable presence of a company's products on the domestic market and development of exports. For pharmaceutical companies, this practice is also a must. Kazakhstan today has 77 companies working in this sector. They satisfy 20% of the domestic demand. What's more, some of the enterprises have already established their export channels. One of them is located in the Almaty region. This enterprise produces single-use medicinal products. Surgical boots, masks, gloves, hats, sterile and non-sterile gloves. Our main argument is that we manufacture product sets which are widely used today for surgeries in all clinics. The company Dolce Farm has been operating since 1998 and over this period has established itself as a leading country producer. This specialization guarantees good demand for the products manufactured here, including on the market of services of the public sector. The biggest client is the fund Samrok Kazana Pharmacy.
У нас есть возможность.
We have an opportunity to focus or put an emphasis on the strengthening and expanding the scope of production without thinking about sales. Government contracts are a unique system. There used to be the 7-year contracts, now they reach 10 years. We have shared our experience with Russian companies, and they would like to introduce it as well.
Мы даже рассказываем россиянам, и они прям хотят у нас позаимствовать.
The enterprise managed to secure government contracts thanks to sustainable development. The management is constantly working on the modernization of its production and strengthening of its capacities. We're slowly getting new equipment. We'll have equipment for the manufacturing of medicinal masks, and consequently our production volumes will rise. This will help satisfy export demands and, of course, the demands of our domestic consumers. The enterprise has 5 big plants, each of which specializes in the production of one type of product. In order to raise productivity, the enterprise is gradually introducing automated production lines. Productivity was raised thanks to the semi-automated production lines. Before we had manually operated ones, and we produced 80,000 units. And today we manufacture 120,000 units daily. In the future we want to have a fully automated production process. Another advantage of the enterprise is its ability to make a unique product offer. For example, it produces medicinal masks with a coal-based filter, which guarantees high protection against bacterial and submicrobial particles. No one in Central Asia manufactures similar masks. In order to reach a new level of development, the pharmaceutical enterprise is placing its bets on human capital and uses the experience of foreign enterprises for the preparation of highly qualified specialists. We have attracted specialists before and continue to do so from Korea, Malaysia, South China. We have made advances in technology, and also from Russia. Here, the management understands that compliance with international quality standards, supported by certification, will allow these products to be competitive on foreign markets. That is why the enterprise is gradually working on obtaining its next certificate. In the prospective future, we're planning to obtain a voluntary certificate of a CE standard. This entails meeting European quality standards in order to enter European markets. Today, the medicinal products of Kazakhstan's Dolce Farm company are being widely distributed across the countries of the CIS. The geography of exports includes the markets of Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Belarus. We're very proud of our exports to Turkmenistan. We deliver medical products for cardiology. They're being used by doctors from Germany with great success. And these are cardiac surgeons with reputable names. They're fully satisfied with the quality of Kazakhstan's products. The near future plans include establishing export channels to Russia. The single pharmaceutical market of the Eurasian Economic Union, the rules of which will come into force this year, serves as an incentive for entering this big market.
Мы ждали там очень долго гармонизации всех регистрационных удостоверений.
We have been waiting for the harmonization of all registration documents for a long time. Until now it has not been introduced, but I think that this will happen soon. And we have already procured a company in Novosibirsk, and this year we're planning first-time wide-scale exports to Russia.
В этом году очень серьезный и масштабный экспорт первичный на Россию.
Another potential market which is being considered by the enterprise today is the market of Ukraine. By the way, last year, Kazakhstan's enterprise took part in a trade mission in Kiev, which is organized by the national operator on export and investment, Kazakh Invest.
Нам сегодня дали возможность сделать шаг вперед, чтобы войти.
We were given an opportunity to make a step forward in order to enter Ukraine's market. And of course, while we were conducting negotiations with many firms and representatives of Ukrainian companies, we realized that our products would also enjoy demand there.
Наша продукция тоже востребована.
The company sees great prospects in the countries of Southeast Asia. The country's participation in the global initiative Silk Road Economic Belt, the possibility of entering this market through the Lianyungang port, where Kazakhstan has its own terminal, all set good prerequisites for new export routes. One of them is Vietnam. We visited Vietnam with a big trade mission and really liked it. There are market prospects. There are difficulties, of course, but this is normal. And at the same time, there are great possibilities. Overall, the plans of the enterprise coincide with the priorities set out within the framework of the new address of the country's president, Third Modernization of Kazakhstan, Global Competitiveness, in which the main emphasis is placed on factors such as innovation, productivity, transit and export. It seems that the management of this enterprise knows how to find its own place under the sun. The recipe is as follows. Conduct preventive measures of the business operations in order to protect the production process from potential challenges that could be caused by higher levels of competition. Maria Kuznetsova, Bahrajan Bahriev, Almaty region, exclusively for Single Markets. That's all for today. My name is Pavel Koktashev. Kind reminder, all the episodes of our program are available on www.kazakh-tv.kz. Until next time on Single Markets.